Welcome to What is Going On's Truth in Medicine show. Each month, broadcaster, author, and media consultant Sandie Sedgbeer and naturopathic medical doctor, researcher, and global health educator Dr. Donese Worden bring you the latest news and research from leading-edge science and new integrative medicine to help you outsmart cancer, chronic disease, aging, and more. Here's your hosts, Dr. Donese Worden and Sandie Sedgbeer.
Hello, and welcome back to the Truth in Medicine show. It's a fact that few of us are totally satisfied with the way we look. Until fairly recently, correcting our perceived imperfections was an impossibly expensive, not to mention painfully invasive pipe dream for the average person on a budget. But thanks to some pretty spectacular leaps in research and technology, an array of new breakthrough products and procedures are making it possible for anyone to look as good as they feel without so much as an overdraft or a scalpel in sight.
And Sandie, with so many new aesthetic treatments and products to choose from, the challenge becomes, how do you discern which is right for you? As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to our health and well-being, helping my patients look good is a vital part of helping them feel good, which means that I'm constantly researching all the latest aesthetic procedures.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that bit about helping them look good, helps them feel good, because I think that many people think that it's a little bit, self-indulgent or not quite the done thing, a little bit vain or narcissistic, to want to look good. But I think it's fairly true to say that, as you said, looking good actually has a really good impact on our body, because if we feel good about ourselves, we're creating all kinds of feel-good hormones. Is that correct?
That is correct. In fact, they've done studies on it. If you feel that you're looking better that day, you relax, you go into parasympathetic, you're in a happy, joyful mood. The bad hair day, it is vain. However, on the bad hair day, you don't work as well. You don't feel as good, and you're not as happy. And so, yes, we can call it vanity, but we've got to remember that, beauty is kind of like an iceberg, and only a small portion is visible. However, beauty's not the quality of the thing itself, but it's in the mind of those who are thinking about it. And it affects us on a physical level, kind of like having a visual pheromone happen. And they do, when we see others and we see ourselves.
Well, I think we've all seen it. When someone's feeling good about themselves, they have a certain glow, don't they?
They do. And, just like my dog Woody will prance when he thinks he's, after his bath. Even at all levels, it's just, I'm looking good today. You don't have to think you're the most beautiful thing walking down the street, but you feel good and you're in good shape for you. So I think that social well-being, in fact, the World Health Organization states health is not just the absence of an illness, but a state of complete mental and social well-being. And that social well-being is part of it. If we feel like we look okay today. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's vanity. It's okay.
It's okay. Good. So everybody can feel okay about it. Doing some research for the show, I read that facelifts are 100 years old, and some of the earliest ones were pretty brutal. I remember reading about one that some famous lady ended up becoming a recluse because the way the procedure was done, there was all kinds of waxes that were put into her skin, and it began to melt whenever she, sat near a candle or something. We've come a long, long way since then.
Well, I don't know. Have you seen anybody after a facelift, Sandie? It's still pretty brutal. But we hope they heal up okay.
Yeah, but their face isn't likely to melt, is it?
No. I think we've way come past that.
Yeah. But it seems to me that it's in the last 15 years, everything has just really leapfrogged. I mean, so many new procedures and products and breakthroughs, and so much new understanding has really simplified many things.
It has, Sandy, and I would let you know that the fastest growing market is the less invasive ones, things that aren't surgeries, the injectables, or the things that are even more natural on top of that. So the fastest growing piece is not the surgical piece. Although I will say aesthetics in general is growing. In fact, I looked up those latest stats for this show today too. And, you know, we're at about, in 2018, just in the U.S., is at about $3.2 billion just in the U.S. And when we add in worldwide, it's far greater than that. And it used to be that the United States was kind of first in what we spent in like 2012. But we're still number one. But the Europeans are right behind us, but right behind them is the Asian Pacific. And that's the fastest growing, too. That used to be not as fast as Europe or as the U.S., but now it has actually overcome even the European Union.
Wow,
but we're
and
still
I know
threefold more than anybody else in the U.S.
Yeah, when it comes to, you know, facial creams, certainly I know that the Korean, it seems to be becoming the hottest thing in town. You know, Korean products, Korean beauty methods, beauty treatments, etc. But we'll get to that a bit later. What I want to ask you is, what is exciting you most?
You know, I think it's the reminder of the human body's ability to repair itself. The techniques that I've been using and studying from Europe for 15 or 20 years, I know how well they work, how great people look. We've got less, no side effects. I mean, and then what has happened, Sandy, is that we'll say, okay, everybody's looking good, they're feeling good, but they're having to come back, maybe every, once a year, or they might come once every 6 weeks just to kind of maintain because they don't want to start dropping again. And then I think, okay, maybe they'd be better off with a facelift, or maybe they'd be better off, let's go try a filler. And you know what I have found, Sandy, is they come back and they look better before they went into those procedures. They look a little too tight, a little too artificial. Their nose is sprayed to the side. They don't look like themselves. They're not happy. And then guess what else? Within a matter of a month or two, they're coming back again because the same drag, the same issues are happening with the skin, and we're back to what we were doing before. So many of my patients have felt like that was a waste in one instance, and they've got scars, and it was very expensive. And we're still having to say, what do we need to do that helps your skin be the most anti-aging state that it can be in? What's going on in your gastrointestinal tract? What's happening with your hormones? And we're doing these natural therapies that just stimulates the body's own collagen production. And I have now gotten to the point where I'm not thinking, okay, maybe they're having to come back too often. Maybe they'd be better off with these other procedures. I've done it, I've sent them, and I'm not happy. And they're not happy. And it's just reminded me that these techniques that we've been doing that are miraculous in stimulating the body's own response are still the best, in my opinion.
Well, some of these natural approaches really are looking at taking something from the body and putting it back into the body, correct? Like, one's own plasma, blood, etc.
PRP, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I use PRP. It depends on the patient, it depends on their budget, and it depends on what their goals are. But, spinning down your own blood and getting out your own growth factors. And the thought is, we can't make the statement boldly yet, but the thought is that those growth factors, your own molecules, may stimulate your own stem cells. What I can say is that I do think it's of added benefit. I do use it. Do I think I get double the effect that I do without it when I'm just using the regular needling effects or my homeopathic injections? No, but I do believe that it does help, and it helps heal faster. It does help it heal faster, and I believe in the long run it does stimulate more collagen growth. But the beauty of it is it's using your body's own molecules.
How is it then that you're taking molecules out of the body and putting them back in? What makes that, good. I mean, how is it that
Right.
you can put them back in and you're having an effect? Why didn't you have that effect because they were there in the first place?
That's a great, great question. And the point is, it's kind of a signaling thing. The body gets used to status quo, homeostasis. And it has its little engine running the way it's running. And then with the free radicals and the damage and the stresses that we do, it just kind of starts slowing down. So as it slows down in these processes, when we put back in a bunch of these molecules into an area that it had slowed down in, and there were very few in that area, it's more information. There's more of those. It's like taking it and, putting a whole lot of that information in one area. That's why. It's because it's more concentrated, and there's more of them. It's just more of them, those molecules.
Well, many women say as they get older that their skin gets more sensitive. By the time they're of an age where they may want to look a bit younger, if the skin is sensitive, isn't it damaging to be doing some of these procedures to the skin?
Not that I have seen, but that is where you don't go in and you don't get these major. If you go in for a hot laser and it's going to take off layers of that thin skin that's already thin, I think that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. And it also, when we create heat, it damages proteins. It's protein denaturation. And I have a concept, a hypothesis, it's mine, that when you cause that unraveling of those proteins with those heat and like those severe chemical peels, I believe that that's not a good way to be talking to any molecules. And does it cause cancer? I don't know. I can't make that statement, but it's of concern. I'm not a fan of real hot lasers. Now, if someone has acne scarring, a young person, it's affecting their quality of life, and they want to do a few of those to even that out, okay. But just to say, let's do it later in life for an anti-aging standpoint, there's no reason. We can build the collagen, and it's different, Sandy. You either have the philosophy of let's burn it all off and hope that it regenerates and comes back, and for a while it will look shiny and good, but guess what? Every time you do that, it thins it. Now you start looking gray, and you look at a lot of the stars, and you can see that. They've had so many procedures, and they've thinned that skin so many times that now you can see the vascular, or those veins underneath it, and they start looking blue or gray. I say, let's build the collagen. Let's do what we can to thicken that skin and build it. Doesn't mean you don't do things to take off that little superficial layer, some scrubs or other things. But my goal is to build collagen, not to thin that skin, and that's different.
Well, what's happening when, you see people whose skin is very shiny and it's very smooth, as if there's layers of pancake makeup on it and then somebody's put a gloss on the top.
Right.
What's happening to cause that shine?
Well, again, the body is trying to repair itself, right? So it's going to bring up any moisture that it can from the inside out. It's literally trying to heal itself. Anytime you hurt yourself, you might get mucus, or if there's an infection. The body tries to repair itself. So a lot of that shine is from those procedures being too thin. And then when they put on any kind of moisturizer, it's just sitting on top. But where's it going to absorb? There's nowhere to go into what layer, so it sits on top and makes it shiny as well. So there's several reasons why they get that look.
The microneedling you were talking about a little bit earlier with the platelet-rich plasma, I was reading that they're actually using that to treat hair loss as well.
Yes, and I do that in my clinic as well. So the microneedling, you can do it with a needle, you can do it with devices. I do both. I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. But when you use PRP and you use that stimulation of these little tiny needles to bring the circulation to the surface and to get those platelets, that have that growth factor into the hair, it can be effective. Now, it's different in everybody, and I would say probably in the patients that we've done it on, I would say maybe just under 3/4 of them have had new hair regrowth. There's a few that it doesn't work in, and people need to be aware of that. There's no real way, we haven't identified who that subset is, why it doesn't work in this patient over another. Now, if it's male pattern baldness, obviously we've got some issues there, but we haven't really identified that. So you're running a risk it may not work. But the best case scenario is it does stimulate your own body, again, to create new hair follicles and the ones you have to help them grow better, thicker, faster, and stronger.
How are you actually getting those platelets?
We draw the blood from a vein in your arm, just like if you were giving blood to get a lab drawn. Then we have to put that blood into a special centrifuge that spins it down. Then we have all these different needles and tubes and this, and we are separating out what has been separated. So there's platelet poor, which means it's got a few in there, and then there's platelet-rich plasma. That's why it's called PRP. And you get about 3 to 4 cc's. It's about the length of your finger in a tube of that platelet-rich plasma. You can see it, and we have a whole process that we have to go through to make sure we're getting the best platelets, and we're not breaking them apart. We want them whole. So it's quite the procedure in the back. The patients don't see it, but we have to go through it a little bit to make sure it's done correctly.
You're listening to What is Going On's Truth in Medicine show, and tonight Dr. Worden and I are delving into the science of aesthetics to look at some of the latest anti-aging beauty products and procedures. Still to come, low-level lasers for collagen production and hair loss, stem cells, Notox instead of Botox, and what ingredients you should be wary of. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a few moments.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, talk, touch their hair. Details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones we carry with us every day. Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Dr. Donese Worden, there's a lot of hype out there. I mean, let's face it, the beauty industry is so lucrative. What do you point to that we should be avoiding?
Right. And, here's the scary part, Sandy, is that the Environmental Working Group reports that the average person has 91 toxic chemicals in their body. This includes things that we're getting from topical. We inhale it, we put it on our skin. A lot of it is this beauty piece. And then 25% of all deaths worldwide are attributable to poor environmental conditions, according to World Health Organization. So here's the bad news. Personal care products, about 23,000 ingredients have been analyzed. 400 products that out of that contain chemicals that have been prohibited from use by other developed countries, and more than half of them, 1,300, contained ingredients in which the industry review said there's insufficient data to determine whether even safe. So that's a problem, and we start looking at what should we be looking for? Just because something says natural doesn't mean that it's safe. Just like a good example is grapefruit seed extract is used as a preservative in a lot of natural ones. Well, it's toxic in high levels, so it's not a good one. So we've got to be careful, and we've got to kind of know what we're doing. I've got lists that I give to my patients that say, if a certain ingredient starts with a PEG or it ends with a, other types of beginning and ending of like parabens and this and that, I give them a whole list, and they can look at it. But the easiest way is go to Environmental Working Group, put in either the product you're looking at or, more importantly, each ingredient. And if it's got a red or a yellow, you shouldn't be using it. So the easiest way, instead of trying to remember all the rules and all what shouldn't be in there, we know parabens, TEAs, sulfates, we know those things are bad. But looking for certifications like the USDA Natural Organic Program, that's important, NSF certification, all these things. I mean, I and you know this, Sandie, is that I developed my own line, and maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. And the reason why I did, I was tired of taking all these wonderful, great, look what's new ingredients, products out, putting them through the test of looking it up and going, I can't find one. I can't find one. I can't go to in fact, this is funny. I went to one of the high-end stores that carries all these multiple brands, right? And I started looking at ingredients, and the person behind the counter goes, what are you looking for? So I started teaching her. You need to look and make sure it doesn't have, PHB esters. You need to look for all these things. And she was first like, well, why are they bad? And I said, well, they're known carcinogens, first of all. That means they cause cancer. And if they've got perfumes and certain dyes, mineral oils, we know certain of these shouldn't be in there. And hydroquinone, by the way, that's the one that's used to kind of decrease freckles and age spots. It's so toxic that high levels of it, just as much as 5 grams, can cause you to die. So in bladder cancer, anemia, atrophy of the liver, these are all in animal studies, but we know how toxic. So I'm talking to her, and so now all of a sudden the other girls from the other places are coming from all the, and pretty soon I've got almost the whole store, all the girls that are selling and men that are selling these products, and I'm teaching them, and we go from line to line to line, looking for a line that we could find that was clean. We couldn't find one. That's when I said, okay, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to develop my own. It took years, but I did, and I'm proud of it. It's clean and it works. That's what I can say. And people need to start reading, looking, and plugging them in, at least to your cell phone, into Environmental Working Group, and making sure that your color of lipstick doesn't have lead in it, all those kinds of things, because it's important. We're toxic, and our kids are being born toxic, and we need to stop this.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to improve our health and improve our looks, and we could be killing ourselves. Yeah. Right. That's when it gets really scary. So, homeopathic cosmetic injections, that sounds as though it's going to be very healthy, is it?
That's right. Well, what I can say is that we see good effect. There's no known side effects with it. It is right now an off-label. I have some that are coming that we may be able to say that this is what this use is for. But right now they're used as anti-inflammatories. They're used to help balance hormones. They do many things. And so by using these and in the needling technique, I studied in France and Italy and with the Germans to learn the type of needling, the type of needle, where it needs to go, if you want to be rough, if you want to be smooth, what layer of the skin do you need to be in, and just the needling alone causes a controlled mechanical damage that's amazing for the body to stimulate collagen growth against. So the needling, and when you add in these beautiful medicines that are good for the entire body, that's where I'm getting the effects, and I'm saying, you know what, I'm not telling people that if they want to go and get this full facelift that I think it's go ahead and do it. I'm telling them the stories of the ones that have, and that they're sorry that they did. That we're going back even after the facelift. We're going back and still having to work with this to keep the body producing its own collagen and elastin. and that's the part that makes it, tight and pull back up.
So what is the ingredient that's in there? I understand about the injections, but the homeopathic ingredient, because homeopathy, they're taking a minute proportion of the very thing that you're trying to work with, right?
Right. Well, these particular injections have combinations in them, Sandie. They may have zinc, which is good for collagen building. They may have, a snake venom in them, which is, think about that. How many venoms are very, very popular right now? Cobra venom for relaxing the muscle, like a Botox alternative. This is not in an injectable form yet, but I have a topical with it. But knowing that these off-label homeopathics that I'm using right now, by getting the inflammation down, like arnica is one of them. You get the inflammation down in the skin, it stops breaking out. It stops having discoloration. It stops breaking the skin, the cells down, so it's not in a degenerative state. It can regenerate because it doesn't have that inflammation on board. So it's not an injection. If I look at the skin, I look at the individual and figure out what do I think they need to be working on. What does their particular skin in this moment need? And the next time they come, I may inject something entirely different. I look to analyze the skin every time. Is it dry? Is it, what is going, is it inflamed? What is going on with that skin?
So, what is it that your patients are asking for? What is it that people are looking for right now?
Right. Well, they're saying, I'm a little afraid of Botox, and I will, that's a brand name. I'll just say the neurotoxin. But I will say, rightly so, in my opinion, it's a potent neurotoxin, and it does have a long-term effect on the brain, nervous system, and muscles. We don't know. I mean, that piece is kind of unknown at this stage, is what I'd say. But what we are seeing, and just that alone was $2 billion last year, is that the newer studies are showing that one nerve cell that's injected with these neurotoxins talks to the next nerve cell and talks to the next nerve cell. So this is traveling in animal studies. It's showing that the drug is able to move between nerve cells, which raises the possibility that this migration could be occurring in humans. So if it migrates, is it getting into the blood-brain barrier? I mean, if it's the most potent neurotoxin known to man and destroys nerve cells, we need to ask ourselves, we should be paying attention to these new studies. Now, that's one. And the other is the fillers. Both of these, they have to get every 6 months to 7 months. You have to keep going back. The fillers, if they get it in the wrong place or more on one side than the other, then you're asymmetric. I've seen them drop where they, instead of on the cheekbone, it gives them jowls. So it's not with that. Most of the time it can work well, but they're saying it's expensive. I have to continually do it. And if you keep doing it, Sandie, they start looking like a tomato. They don't have the wrinkles, but they're so puffed and round. They have no wrinkles. They have filled so much, they look round. Their face, you can barely recognize them. Yep. And so my patients are saying, I don't want that look. And I don't want my lips to be out. Now it's common to be called the duck lip look. They don't want that look, but they want to do something. So they're saying, I want to fight this. I want to look better. I want to look healthy. Can you give me 10 to 15 years looking younger, healthy skin, vibrant? If I have a few fine, well-deserved lines, I'm okay. And I'm also okay with having expression in my face when I talk and not look like a mask. So those are the patients that are coming to me saying, what can you do that will look natural and people don't go, oh, what did you just have done? Or you just got your lips done, or you got a facelift. They say, wow, you look really good. I can't put my finger on it, but you look well rested. Your skin, do you have new makeup? What's going on? So that's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. I have to ask you this one because it sounds so ridiculous. I don't know whether you are familiar with the story that broke a few months ago. I think it was Sandra Bullock who said on TV that she was using an ingredient extracted from the discarded foreskins of circumcised babies. And I forget what they called it, but the word penis was in there, and it caused a big uproar. Is there an ingredient in those discarded foreskins that really can help women look better?
Think about, the Germans have been using placenta, homeopathic placenta, for a long time. And we used it when it was on label for me to be able to use it in the United States. Anything that's coming from embryonic fluid, which is also being utilized, all those, remember we were talking about how things slow down, the repair process, the growth, all that slows down as we age. Anything that's coming from a baby, they've got lots of fast little growth cells. So the thought is those epidermal layers, which is kind of the skin layers coming off of these different parts of babies, or the placenta or embryonic cells, that's the thought, because they are rich in growth factors. Whether that really works, whether that's the right thing to do, I think time will tell. But I like the idea of using the body's own cells if we're going to use cellular therapy, because we just don't know. Anti-rejection, that baby is a different cells than Sandra Bullock's. I just don't think we know enough when we start putting someone else's information into our bodies.
Yeah, I mean, surely you're putting their DNA into your body.
Right. So those stem cells that they're after, we don't know. And, as you know, my heart and soul is in this oncology world. And I think we've got to be very, very careful how we signal cells. And, and even with our own cells, that using them topically with these finite little thin needles into the skin surface, I think we're okay there. I hope we're okay there, but I'm not going to tell you 100% that I know that is true. I believe that it is. That's why I'm willing to do it for certain patients, for certain things. But we've got other things where we do not have to utilize that and worry about it, Sandy.
Mm-hmm. You were talking earlier about needling. I've seen some devices, a little bit like some kind of almost like a pen, that with little rollers on it, that have little things that prick the skin, and they come with a fluid, liquid, something that is going into the skin. What are they using there?
Usually hyaluronic acid, which helps plump. And it's a good idea to get that into the skin through tiny little pricks. Those little rollers can do well if you do it all the time, but they tend to dull and you have to buy more. We have a medical device that does it deeper, does more of it, and I mean, it's quite dramatic. You look like you've had a sunburn for 2 days afterwards, and your body may shed that little top layer we're talking about, but not the deep layers, because if you do that, you've taken away the protection from the sun. You've taken away the body's protection from free radicals, and I think in the long run you have deeper wrinkles. So these medical devices that don't go too deep but go deeper than the rollers that you can buy, I think are the way to go. Those rollers in between can keep things there, but I've not seen them do as dramatic effect as doing the medical devices. But hyaluronic is great. There are growth factors in some of the Korean products, and we drive those in, and some have copper, which I really like. Peptides are another thing. Those are like little amino acids and proteins. I'm excited about those, and I'm seeing good effects with those. So I like the copper peptides. I like other types of, now they're not approved to inject, but we can put them topically on the face and then drive them in a different way.
So what's happened? What's happened to the retinol and vitamin A and all of the other things that everybody was raving about a few years ago? Are they out of the picture now?
Not really. I'm highly allergic to retinol. I mean, I'll go anaphylactic. I can't do it, and a lot of people are. But retinol, high-dose vitamin A, you've got to be careful with, but it does do the job when you're trying to get rid of discolorations. And I'd rather have retinol than the hydroquinine that I was talking about a minute ago. So, I mean, we've got other things that work that help that hyper or hypopigmentation. That means it's either white spots or dark spots to even the tone without having to use the retinol or retin A. But it does work fairly well, Sandy, and in some instances it's still the right thing to do, at least for a short period of time.
What about nutritionally? Is there something that we can do nutritionally to help our skin?
Eat healthy, all the different vitamins and minerals, and that comes from mostly dark green leafy vegetables, right? Not eating inflammatory foods like a bunch of red meats, things, the candies, the sugars. We know those things damage every cell in our body, much less our skin. But in particular, again, the vitamin A, E, D, and K that come in those green vegetables, those are the ones that the skin responds to well. So eating a healthy vegetable, lots of vegetables, helps the skin dramatically, and getting rid of the things that cause inflammation. And then we do, the food sensitivity test to say which foods are you eating that could cause inflammation. That protects against many things, not just your skin. But your skin is a reflection of your inside of your GI. When we're in embryo, that little one, when we're that one cell and we flip wrong side out, we're literally the same cell. So if the skin is broken out, so is the inside of your gut, and vice versa. So a lot of people come to me with their skin, and the first thing I start asking them about their digestive health. If I fix that, a lot of the times the skin does its thing and does fantastic. Now, it'll slow down the aging process, but sometimes we need some of these extra procedures that help stimulate that body to say, wake up, stop degenerating, stop falling apart, and start repairing yourself. It thinks it's been damaged, so it wants to repair itself, and it builds collagen, and ta-da, our skin looks better. It's tighter, the wrinkles are less, and it responds better.
You're listening to What is Going On's Truth in Medicine show, and this month Dr. Donese Worden and I are discussing new breakthrough products and procedures that are making it possible for anyone to look as good as they feel without so much as an overdraft or a scalpel in sight. We'll be back with more after the break.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM-FM. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test, because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Welcome back, Dr. Donese Worden. Low-level lasers. Now, we're hearing quite a lot about this lately, LLLT. What is it and how does it work?
Well, it's different, first of all, than a hot laser. So as I was speaking about before, the hot lasers cause protein denaturation, which means it breaks apart proteins. Don't like that. Cold lasers stimulate collagen growth. They're well known in wound healing and in burns. And in fact, they accelerate wound healing by 30%. So what it does is it stimulates the body to lay down collagen, and that's what we're trying to do with all these natural therapies. So when a patient comes in and whatever we're doing for them, whatever type of injection or procedure, we always include the cold laser because that is going to add another level and another signal to the skin to start laying down more collagen and produce more elastin.
So
I love low-level lasers.
So tell me what actually happens in a treatment session with a laser. Is it painful?
Not with cold laser at all. There's no heat. The hot lasers can be very painful, and you are shedding and look like something from a horror movie for weeks. No, cold lasers, you walk out. It's no pain, absolutely painless. And it's a red light laser. It's not LED. That doesn't do the trick. But it is a cold laser, and that's why it's called cold, because it's not hot and it doesn't hurt. Fantastic.
I've seen a lot of these red light products for skin rejuvenation, but also in the form of caps that you can wear on your head, for the hair. How effective are these products?
If they are cold laser, if they're actually a low-level laser, a true laser, they can be effective. In fact, there are some that are now FDA approved for that. But if they are LED light, you're probably paying way too much money for it. You might get 3% versus 30%. They're not harmful, but they're not going to do the trick like a true laser is.
So what are we looking for then? I mean, are the manufacturers being honest? Are they saying it's a low-level laser when it's an LED?
Well, you can look it up. So, and that's what we do. I know which ones have gotten their FDA approval, their FDA recognition. There are leaders in the field that actually do the studies, and everybody else just kind of piggybacks off of them. Erconia is one of those companies that does. They are an R&D company. They actually have the first lasers that have been FDA indicated for these types of things. So Erconia, I know. Others, you have to ask them, show me your studies, not someone else's studies, and saying, well, we do the same thing, but show me your studies. And if they can't, then you need to question.
Tell us about the BioLift. I know this is something that you've spoken to me about before, but tell our listeners, what is the BioLift?
That is my term, and I coined that, and it was that when a patient comes in and they either want to lift, they want to firm, they want to decrease pore size, they want to just discolorations to go away, if they want to try to build collagen and fill in, it's a bio. We're using the body's own biology, and we're trying to lift it. So what the BioLift generally is, it is one of these devices that really gets all these lots of little needles into the area with whatever topical that I want to drive in, and that depends on what we're working on, plus my mesotherapy techniques. I'm getting the needle in my hand, and I know exactly what depth and where I want that needle to go. Do I want to aggravate quite a bit because it's a deeper wrinkle underneath? Is there a scar that I need to work on? So then I'm doing my own needling techniques, and I use always cold laser. So it's those three things combined that we have found the best effect. And then we've got to put them on the right kind of clean products and do it that to maintain it and to keep it. Because my goal is to stimulate your body to make those changes and then let it last as long as it possibly can until you start breaking it down again. And it lasts longer than fillers and Botox.
So this is not the same thing as the bioelectric rejuvenation unit. I was reading about one of those online that uses frequencies to stimulate the cells and re-educate muscles.
Right. And that, again, I've used a lot of those types of devices, and I think if they can work, that you've got to also ask, show me the studies. Show me the data to prove that that this is working. I mean, it's a nice idea, and I do believe that it can, but I think that we've got to watch the claims that are being made from a lot of these things. But I believe that they have effect. It can have effect if it's the right thing in the right device, in the right frequency for the right person.
Yeah. And there are a lot of claims being made about an awful lot of product. Yeah, let's take a look at some of the anti-aging serums on the market. I mean, some of them are so ridiculously expensive, and I'm thinking of, things like La Mer, La Prairie. There's one in particular that I have been intrigued by because it seems to have a quite different story, and it's something that I come across every time I get on a plane because it's in the British Airways duty-free book. It's an Icelandic product, and it's got an EGF ingredient which is produced in barley plants grown in volcanic pumice and watered with Icelandic spring water. Sounds amazing, but I mean, what does it all mean, really?
Well, it's I'm not going to talk about particular brands, but a lot of them are nice stories. And I have yet to have a company come in and show me a topical ingredient, that's not derivative of an injection. Show me a topical, show me the science. They said, well, we use apple stem cells. Or we do this. I said, that's a nice story. Show me the science that proves that that's getting through the skin. They cannot. Now, maybe there's one out there I don't know about at this point, but I've been approached by a lot of companies, Sandy, and they're just not, they just can't give me enough science. So you'll watch, it will say, can approve the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, the appearance. It doesn't say it will do, or it does do, and there's a reason why that language is there. So I think we've got to be careful, and these products don't have to cost a lot. I know the manufacturing of these, some of those that are hundreds of dollars probably cost 10 cents to make. So, we find new ingredients. I mean, I get excited about the ingredients, too. I mean, I've got some that I love in mine. There's a Brazilian fruit extract and West Indian lime that I use in this sea salt body scrub that I put together. And then we've got super muds. They're Hungarian mud that has been used since Cleopatra's time, but it's got some science behind it. It's a natural mud detox treatment. So the ones that I put into my products, at least I know that there's some science behind it. And I'm using organic olive oil and avocado oil and things that we know that are not going to harm. But can I put a lot of claims on this? No, because I'm working, these things we're hoping are absorbing into certain levels of the skin. How deep are they getting? Who knows? But if we like our skin, if it feels good, and again, first do no harm, at least I know the plankton and the almond oil, I know these are clean. I know they don't have the bad things in them. I even put in peptides. I'm hoping some of those are going to be absorbed. I can't tell you they are. No one can. But I can tell you if they are, they're amazing, and I can tell you the effect is that, patients are loving it. Got resveratrol in there, things that we know are antioxidants, trying to protect the skin. So we've got to know, and a lot of times hemp and coconut oil, those are great lotions. They are healing, and they have a lot of beautiful properties. So, it's a nice story. We can all put a story behind these ingredients that we're putting in and believe in them, and patients and people can like them. But we've got to be careful with the claims, and you certainly do not have to spend a fortune on any of these ingredients.
Well, we do love our buzzwords, don't we? And anything that appears to be new. I mean, have you noticed all of the cleansing wipes now seem to be micellar water? And, that's so different and so much better than everything that we've been using for the last God knows how many years. I love the buzzwords. There's one particular cream. You don't want to mention names. I don't mind mentioning names, but I won't. And it's labelled a cold plasma cream. Now, what the hell does that mean? It sounds like somebody is trying to, profit off of the cold laser.
Yeah, well, or even just plasma. Of changing cells, changing this. And, a lot of the names, and I will tell you, a lot of the companies get in trouble all the time for the claims. But by the time they get in trouble, they've sold millions of dollars worth of product.
Of course they have.
And if this money-back guarantee, if let's say they get a quarter of their product back, thrown back at them that we didn't like it, they still made a fortune. Because remember, the most most of the time, the most expensive thing you're buying or that costs the manufacturer is the packaging. The packaging costs more than the ingredients inside that label.
Yeah.
And so we've just got to be smarter about what we're doing and look for clean products you believe in. That's why the Dr. Zen Skin line, when I finally said, okay, I've just got to do this, I put it together. I'm proud. I know it's clean. I know people are loving it. I'm loving it. Nobody's having problems with it. They like the way their skin feels. That's the only claims that I'm going to make off of these, because I'm not going to try to sell it outside of what we think it can do for you. But we do like them.
Well, we do. I mean, really, what does a cold plasma mean at the end of the day? They're not putting plasma in a cream. And how can it be cold when it's sold off the shelf? You know, it's not refrigerated. but we're a sucker for it.
Andy. It's a cool name. You know, it's just cool. So, you know, we do tend toward it, and we love packaging. I have a friend that just developed his own line, and I happen to know that, you know, most of the ingredients are clean. It's a nice line. It's a good line. It's beautifully packaged. You want to buy it just because it looks pretty, right? But you're paying for that packaging. You know, and so my patients and I, when I developed this, I said, okay, it's going to be a pretty line. It's going to be simple, but you're not going to be getting it in this packaging that looks like, you know, you just bought a gold brick. But it's going to be nice, and it's going to be clean packaging so that I don't worry about that environment. Everything is done right, and it's pretty, but it's not one of these, wow, I want to show everybody I just bought this new line. What I want people to say is, I really like what this is doing with my skin. I like this because of what is happening, not just the pretty packaging.
Yeah. What do you think of using essential oils in
those are in
some
a lot
of
my ingredients. Those are
they
in
are.
my creams. A lot of them. So I've got certified and wild crafted ingredients, from essential oils to herbals to the botanicals to extracts to the peptides. I mean, there's so many things that are fun. And how I found them, though, is by looking at the research. What do we know about these, and do they look like they topically can make some effect? Now, until I do, you know, big studies, I can't make any claims, but bee pollen is in them. Sea kelp is in them. And the science background of my science background is saying there's possibility that this can help make changes at the cellular level on the skin. I can't make those claims, but that's my thought process when I formulate these. I mean, green tea is in there. There's so many. It depends on what we're talking about, but the flower extracts are in there, and trying to make them where they are hypoallergenic. I have unscented in most of these, but some of them are scented with like bergamot. I love. It smells like an orange. You want to eat it. Some are lavender, but then for those who are very sensitive, I created unscented. And what I do know is that I've gone as clean and as close to the earth as I can get with these ingredients, and making sure there's no lead, no arsenic, making sure the testing has been done on every single batch, that it's stored in a place where no microbial growth grows. You can make a bunch all at once and save money, but it's going to grow things sitting on the shelf, and we don't do that. So I've been, just like I am with the supplements, Sandy, I've been just as tough and as hard on this skincare line. Even though you're not ingesting it orally, I've gone to that depth of research and quality control on these as well. And I think it's needed.
Well, you've just, highlighted another point there. I mean, when you've got all these face creams, and let's face it, most women have more than one, is there, do they go off their shelf life? If you leave one for too long, does it actually begin to get bacteria in it? Dr. Worden, are you still there?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we are.
Okay.
We lost you for a moment. Yeah, completely lost you. We've only...
reason why, right, I got your question, and yes, So that's why some of the essential oils, that's why some of the botanicals are in there in the extract, are to help them not grow those microbials, those bacteria, and all. That's why eye creams are very important to use within expiration date, because they will start growing and you can actually lose an eye. So if you get a pimple or you get something on your skin, not as bad as eye cream. So you got to be very careful. So you've got to go by label claim. Don't use it past the expiration. Throw it out. Don't think, oh, it can't be that bad. But maybe it's only lost its efficacy, right? Maybe it won't work as well. Worse than that, it could be growing things that are very detrimental to your health.
So, in short, there's a lot of great stuff out there. As always, we've got to be vigilant. And give us the name of that website again where we can check the ingredients.
Right, Environmental Working Group, and it's called Skin Deep. And I actually give them money because I think it's important, and I do a lot of research for consumers to be able to look these things up.
Great. Well, it looks as though the clock has beaten us tonight, so we're going to have to leave it there. But as always, we'll be back next month with more Truth in Medicine. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer.
And I'm Dr. Donese Worden, and we want you to look as good as you feel. Join us every last Thursday of each month, and we will plan to educate, empower, and enlighten you.